1976, the season of James Hunt and Niki Lauda, immortalised in the 2013 film Rush. It's probably F1's most famous historical season, given that the season was one of ups and downs for both drivers as it seemed neither of them could catch a break. One of those breaks they couldn't catch was pretty large, but you know what I mean. It all kicked off early in the season when Hunt's McLaren was disqualified from the Spanish Grand Prix for having a car that was too wide. McLaren appealed the decision, saying that the reason the car was too wide because of the expansion of tyres when they got hot. It took the FIA 2 whole months to get the result overturned to what it should have been. A win for Hunt. Then at the British Grand Prix, more controversy as there was a first lap pile-up involving Ferrari driver Clay Regazzoni, Hunt and Jacques Lafitte. The race was red flag and all three drivers took to the grid in their spare cars, which was apparently illegal. Hunt won the race, and afterwards the Fittipaldi, Tyrrell and Ferrari teams all protested the fact that Hunt had started the race in the spare car, despite Ferrari having a driver to also do the race in the spare car. 2 months after the race, all three drivers that used the spare car were disqualified, and a win was given to Lauda. Jody Scheckter and the Tyrrell was given second, and the Fittipaldi team were given a single point. So, protecting interests at play once again. Or politics. Yeah, you know what I mean. But then at the following round at the Nurburgring, disaster. Lauda crashed at Bergwerk corner and his car burst into flames. Luckily, other drivers involved in the accident were able to get out of their cars and pull Lauda from his burning Ferrari, and the accident condemned the 14-mile Nurburgring to the history books, at least by Formula 1 standards. The drivers had already protested the safety standards at the track, and the circuit wasn't willing or able to appoint the necessary amount of marshals, and it took the medical helicopter 6 minutes to reach the accident site due to the weather. Lauda only missed the rounds in Austria and the Netherlands, returning for Ferrari's home race at Monza. Once again, there was controversy as there are tales going around the F1 history sphere to the effect of the Italian authorities deliberately shafting Hunt to give Lauda and Ferrari a leg up for the race. Something to do with the RON rating of their fuel being illegal, which, after the race, the authorities went, "So, yeah, actually, it turns out there was nothing wrong with your fuel after all. Whoops." Hunt would later collide with Tom Price and retire from the race, something that might not have happened if he'd started in the 9th place he should have started in. Hunt would then win the next 2 races in Canada and the United States, which set up the final showdown in Fuji, a race that was torrentially wet and Lauda withdrew from the race on safety grounds. Hunt meanwhile recovered from an unscheduled stop to get 3rd and the championship. Now back in those days, points were dished out in a 9-6-4-3-2-1 format, a system where if you had one bad race you didn't lose too much in the grand scheme of things. Today, it's 25 points for the win, 1 for a fastest lap, and then points on a sliding scale from 1 down to 10th. So this then begs the question, how different would this fight between Hunt and Lauda have been if the current system was in place? And would the 1976 season have been as epic had that season used the 2023 point structure? So let's have a look, shall we? Okay, so we are in Microsoft Excel for the 1976 F1 season as if it had the 2023 point structure. Now, there are a few things to note here, just a little bit of housekeeping that I do in these videos before we actually get into things. So number one, for this one, I haven't included fastest laps because, well, a lot of people have been saying in the other videos that, well, they didn't know they needed the fastest lap back in those days, so it's not really relevant to the point structure and things like that, which is actually a fair comment. So for this one, I've not included the fastest laps. It's just as it would have been, well, 2018, 2019, before they brought in the fastest lap point. And you'll also see on the far right-hand side of the spreadsheet is the reference for today's point structure, if you don't know it off the back of your hand, and also the 1976 point structure. Another thing to mention here is that in 1976 they had drop rounds. I can't remember the exact structure for the drop rounds as it was, but for this, there are no drop rounds, it's just straight points, first past the post, whoever scores the most points wins. I am also aware that I am wearing a hat. Now, there is a joke answer and a serious answer to that. The joke answer is, I didn't realise I had a hat and hoodie that are the same colour, which I think is pretty cool, but the serious answer is, what's left of my hair needs a bit of a trim, and I just haven't got around to doing it yet, so this is just to stop me looking like Krusty the Clown, if I'm being honest. There will also no doubt be jump cuts in this as well. I am allergied to high heaven right now, so if there is a jump cut, it's probably because I've had to blow my nose at some point. I know people don't like the old jump cuts, but it is what it is. So with the housekeeping out of the way, let's just explain the whole premise of this spreadsheet. As you can see, 1976 Formula 1 World Championship, and then you've got the point structure on the right-hand side of the spreadsheet. The current system used in 2023, and then the 1976 point structure as well, just as a bit of a reference to show you how things have changed. You've also got two columns in the top left-hand corner of the spreadsheet, new and real. Real is where the drivers finished for realsies in 1976, and new is where they finish now. So you've got a little bit of a comparison there as well. And then at the top, you've got the race-by-race results as well. So starting with Brazil, then moving into South Africa, the US GP West, which was at Long Beach, I believe, Spain, Belgium, Monaco, Sweden, France, Britain, Germany, Austria, the Netherlands, Italy, Canada, the US GP at Watkins Glen, and then the finale in Japan at Fuji. So, I'm actually quite interested to see where this is because, I mean, well, I do know the actual result myself. It's just a big reveal for you lot. But when I was going through, there are some really interesting things to note that have changed the course of history, if that makes any sense. So let's reveal it. So with the 2023 point structure, Niki Lauda is still the world champion, despite missing 2 rounds due to, well, we all know what happened. It's amazing. He still wins it by 2 points. In reality, Hunt won it by just a single point. But Lauda still wins by, well, 2 points. And fastest laps wouldn't have saved Hunt in this case. Lauda still had a lot of fastest laps. And a few of the fastest laps were taken by drivers who ended up finishing outside of the top 10. So it really didn't do anybody any favours come the end. So Lauda, in this universe, 4-time Formula 1 world champion. Out of the top drivers of that year, you can only see that Scheckter, Depailler, Regazzoni and Watson have remained where they are, just through their finishing positions and other things happening around them. You can see that some drivers, such as Jochen Mass, have jumped up from 9th to 6th, and the one that really stood out for me is Tom Price, who finished 12th in reality, but in this universe, he finishes in 10th. And the reason for that is, you take Price's results across here, you see he's got 4 points for finishing 8th there, 4 points for finishing 8th there, 4 points for finishing 8th there, 2 points for 9th there, he's got 6 for 7th there, a point for 10th there, another 4 points for 8th there, and another 6 points for 7th. In real life, he only got points for that race, and that race. So he kept finishing in the top 10, but he wasn't scoring points for finishing in the top 10 because the points only went down to 6. So because he's been able to bag those extra points for finishing, 7th, 8th, 9th, and 10th, he's jumped from 12th, I think he had 11 points in real life, up to into the top 10. At the expense of, let me see, who was 11th back then? Ronnie Peterson. Ronnie Peterson really suffers, drops from 11th down to 14th. Because while Price continuously finished, Peterson continuously not scored. I mean, he did get the 25 points for winning in Italy, but that's a lot of retirements there for Peterson. And also, I'll just point out as well that not every single driver that competed in the 1976 season is on this spreadsheet because there were just so many drivers. And when you get down to beyond Stommerland, so you get into the likes of Jackie X and a few others, it's just DNQ, DNQ, DNQ. There's just no point in filling it in because they only got like 1 or 2 points for the whole season. So Stommerland gets 8 points for his time across the season. He scored an 8th point, so an 8th place points paying finish at the German Grand Prix, which is where Lauda had his life-changing accident. Chris Amon gets a decent haul of points, but you got Reutemann, Amon, and Ertl all there on 14. I can't count at the minute. I'm just trying to see if there are any really close finishes. Jardier and Brambilla very, very close to each other. I mean, like, Jarrier finished, knocking on the door of some decent points here. Brambilla kept on retiring, and that's why they're so close there. Fittipaldi grabs 26 points just by virtue of finishing 6th on 3 occasions that year, and then getting the 2 points, which is the wrong colour, at the US Grand Prix. He was driving for his brother's team at that point. You got Peterson and Stuck finishing very close to each other because of just the fact that it's a sea of purple there. Alan Jones did really well. missed a couple of races, still bagged 43 points over the course of the season. Gunnar Nilsson probably could have done a lot better as well. He was 10th in reality, but drops to 12th as the result of all this. Carlos Pache up from 14th to 11th, again, because of finishing, again, here. 10th, 9th, 9th, 8th, 8th, 7th, which really helped him there. Andretti's missed a couple of races here. That's a 10 points as well. I forgot to colour this in. And people are asking me where I get the template for this and how I do it and things like that. It's I made it. Literally what I do is I manually write in every single result and then colour it in as per what's on Wikipedia, just to keep all the colours the same thing. And then what you do is you enter it all, and then you just grab every single piece of data up to here. You then go on to sort, custom sort, and then sort by whatever the points tally is. In this case, column V, largest to smallest, and that reorders it all for you. And the sunlight's really starting to bother me right now. And it is interesting to see how the 2-point systems are in terms of rewarding and punishing consistency and reliability. In 1976, if you had a bad race, it didn't really matter because, well, the points between like first and second, it's only 3 points, later 4 points when it went up to 10. So if you have a bad race, it's not the end of the world, because if the guy you're fighting with has a bad race as well, you've instantly caught up. With today's system, if you have 2 bad races, you might as well just write off the season entirely, because the gap between first and second is now 8 points. So you have to really hold on hope that your championship rivals have an issue. So this has been a look at changing Formula 1 history, or at least seeing an alternative history if the point structure had been in use the whole time. The 2023 point structure, that is. If you can see something on this spreadsheet that I haven't really noticed, but in terms of the maths, or maybe you've seen a pattern in results that might have helped a particular driver, then do let me know down in the comments, and let me know what other seasons you might want to see. I might even do the 2021 season with the old point system, and maybe with drop scores as well, just to see what happens. I'm all scrolling down. If you thought this video was interesting and you enjoyed it and you learned something here today, then do give the video a like, and for more stuff like this, get subscribed with the Stefan bell on so you never miss out on anything I do around here. Is there another pun I can do with get the Rolf Stommer? No, that doesn't work, does it? Get the Vittorio Brambell on. There we go. You never miss out on anything I do around here. That was awful. Massive thanks as ever to the kind folk at Patreon for the continued support. If you do want to help support this channel at a more personal level, you can help out by clicking the link in the description, where there's also links to my F1 store affiliate link. There's also Discord down there and my socials. So until next time, I've been Millward. Have a cracking day wherever you live in the world, and I'll see you all again soon for another video. Goodbye.